Hey there, storytellers! Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 24 of Bookmas. Happy Christmas Eve to you all. The second to last day. We are getting down to the end of it. Today's video is going to be a little game. So I compiled a list of 10 holiday reads that I read between last year and this year. I had hoped to have more, but alas, I got a little behind on everything with the holidays and the busyness, and I didn't do as much reading as I'd hoped. But without any further ado, I'm going to be playing a little game I call Mistletoe or Miss. Basically, a book will be getting a mistletoe rating if I really enjoyed it, and a miss if I didn't, hence the coal. But without any further ado, let's get into this. The first book, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, I give, surprisingly, mistletoe to. I thought it would be one of those classics that I read and was just sort of ambivalent about, but I ended up really enjoying it, and it's actually a cute, well, not cute, but it's a short little holiday read. It's something. I wouldn't call it cute. They do say he's the man who invented Christmas, that Charles Dickens guy, so, you know, he definitely knows what he's doing. Next up, we have The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand, and unsurprisingly, this A Christmas Carol retelling, reimagining, revamp, whatever you want to call it, is unshockingly to you, I'm sure, getting a mistletoe rating. I think if you like the original, you're bound to at least like the attempt at shaking things up, but I actually think this one was well executed. It was something a little bit different, and I didn't expect it to go the way it went, without spoiling it, but it's definitely not, even reading the synopsis, it's not quite what you expect by the time you're finished with it, but I wasn't mad at it, so mistletoe. Next, we have my most recent holiday read, Christmas Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. Now, overall, I gave this book a really nice rating, but in terms of this game, it's actually kind of somewhere in the middle of Mistletoe and Miss for me. Mistletoe because I love Rebecca Bloomwood and the ending was great and I liked the overall story, but Miss because the ex-boyfriend plotline and the sort of lack of focus on Christmas kind of just took away from the actual Christmas vibes of the book for me, which is what I wanted going into it. I very much wanted it to be Rebecca at Christmas, doing the Christmas things all the time, and she kind of wasn't, so it was a little bit of a miss, but mostly mistletoe, you know, so in between. Next up, we have A Christmas Story by Jean Shepherd. This is a collection of his sort of stories in other works that he has that were compiled to inspire the film A Christmas Story, which is, I have stated, my all-time favorite Christmas film. But despite the fact that I really enjoyed it, I actually think I'd give it a bit of a miss because there's actually only one story that focuses on Christmas and the rest of it inspires it. But in terms of generating the exact same kind of warm and fuzzy feelings that the film does, it kind of misses the nostalgia a little bit. It's still really good and I'd still recommend it, but if you're going into it expecting that full-on glowy Christmassy nostalgia, it's going to be a little bit of a miss, which I will admit it's a little bit of a miss. But also it's my favorite Christmas movie ever, so like part of me just can't leave it on a negative note. Like the film and the intent behind the collection of stories is a mistletoe. Next we have Snowden, and I cannot remember who it's by right now, but it ended up being a miss for me. It's about this girl, I read this last year, so like the name's not fresh in my brain for anybody in this one, but it's about this girl who, she and her mother moved to like Maine or somewhere where it snows a lot. I'm giving a great description. Her mother her mother got a divorce and they moved to this small little town, like a winter village town basically, and she ends up meeting this guy and there's a whole lots of other stuff going on and they get snowed in together at the end, and you know, things happen. And while that it was not a bad story, it just wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. Like it doesn't stick in my brain in terms of like, I remember this character's name and I remember this, and I do remember details about it, but that's just because I'm actively thinking about it right now. If you ask me on the spot, I could not tell you anything about this book really, other than she gets snowed in with this guy, and it's, you know, a YA rom-com set in a wintry, snowy town around Christmas. That's like all I got. So it's not bad, it's just not great. Next we have What Light by J. Asher, and this is one I expected to be bad, but was pleasantly surprised to find was a mistletoe for me. This follows, okay, again, read it last year, can't remember the names specifically, other than I remember the guy has a kind of wintry, I think his last name is Winters. But it's about this girl whose parents own a Christmas tree farm, and they spend most of the year on the farm in like Oregon or wherever she's from, growing the trees, and then they go down to California at Christmas time and sell the trees to the California people who do not have the sort of Christmassy vibes going on. And she basically meets this guy who's buying a tree, and she's kind of intrigued by him, but everybody's like, stay away from him. He's like the town bad boy. He's got this reputation. You don't want to get involved. Even her parents have like heard the gossip, and they're like, don't get involved with this guy. But she's like, you know what? I don't even know him. You don't even know him. No one has taken the time to get to know this guy, and they end up actually having very deep conversations with each other. So I felt like even though it was kind of insta-lovey, it was a well done insta-lovey where you felt like they were actually building towards really knowing each other rather than just like being instantly attracted to one another, which is why I gave it a mistletoe. Next we have The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, which for me personally is a mistletoe. I just love it. I haven't read it in forever. I should give it a reread. Maybe I'll change my mind. I hope not. Just even setting aside the fact that it is very overtly religious in its symbolism, it's still a really fun kid's story, in my opinion, about an adventure that these kids go on, and they take down this evil witch, and there's a lion and fawns and talking animals, and it's great. Okay, I'm somebody who I like the magical world. I don't care what inspired them. I just like them. Next we have If the Fates Allow by Rainbow Rowell, and this for me for the most part was a mistletoe. I liked it. I did a whole review on it, so if you're interested, go watch that. But I think it's a bit of a miss only because even though I do appreciate a good short story, I always want more of it if it's good. And this is one of those ones where like I would have been happy to have a full-on novel spin-off for Reagan, but that's fine. It was what it was, and it was great for what it was. Next, we have The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews, and this one was a surprising mistletoe. I expected this to be kind of generically bad, Hallmarky. I don't know why. I've never read any of Mary Kay Andrews' things, so I don't know why I made an assumption about it. I think I just, from the synopsis, I thought that's what I was walking into, but it actually, I mean, it was all the Hallmarky kind of vibes, for sure. But it was really cute and really enjoyable. Complex? Not really. There were some emotional moments. It ticked a lot of my boxes in terms of like what I look for in a Christmas novel. You know, there was like the snow and the relationship building and rekindling, and there was hope. Our main character went on her own little emotional journey, and also there was cozy as a heck atmospheres. Like every 10 seconds, the atmosphere was being described as cozy, and then she described why it was cozy. It was just, it was kind of Hallmarky, but in the best way. And so it surprised me that I liked it as much as I did. And last but not least, we have Christmas and Camelot by Mary Pope Osborne. And let me just say it, for the nostalgia factor, it was a mistletoe. Full on Magic Tree House nostalgia. I can't remember if I've read this one when I was younger. I don't think so. I think I missed out on these sort of Merlin adventures, which is a shame because they were meant for me as a child. So nostalgia-wise, mistletoe. Plot-wise, it was a bit of a miss, but I'm an adult reading a novel meant for children. Like, still really enjoyable. Was it a very complex plot? No. Were a lot of their issues solved fairly quickly? Yes. I was struck with the same thought I had even while reading it as a young child, which is that Jack really needs to learn to listen to Annie more because Annie knows what's up, and Jack is a doubter and he makes everything harder, and he just needs to go with the magic of the treehouse. Annie goes with the flow, and everything's fine. But anyway, literally it's an in-between. Like, nostalgia-wise, fantastic. Plot-wise, not so fantastic, but I didn't go into it expecting to be complex. Like, I remembered them. I remembered how the adventures would go, and they were pretty easy to get through because you're meant to be like a little kid reading, I say little kid, like a middle schooler reading these books, like getting through it. They're kind of like second tier first chapter books for kids. So like, you're just getting used to the idea of how plots go and the twists and turns that it can take and the wrenches that can get thrown into it. And like, it was fun to re-experience that. But as an adult, I expect more from my stories now, which is not unheard of. So like, if I'm reading it truly as an adult, it's a bit of a miss. But if I'm reading it from the little kid within my heart, it is a mistletoe. But that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by leaving a like down below. Have you reread any novels that you used to read as a kid? If so, let me know down in the comments below what they were and did they hold up for you? Or is your adult brain just like a little too expectant of complex plots to enjoy them from now on? And if you want to keep up with me and all of my bookish adventures, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And of course, I highly recommend that you ring the little bell so that you don't miss a beat, because it will notify you every time I post a new video, which in the month of December is only going to be for one more day out of the 25 whole days. So I will see you guys tomorrow with a new one. Bye!